So even more shakeups in the Trump campaign in 2024. We see that Chris LaCivita, I'm Mexican, but I still can't say it. LaCivita, this guy has been under fire. To a lesser extent, Susie Wiles, who's the VP under him, basically running the Trump campaign as of the past several months. These two are really under fire for a multitude of different reasons. You can see it on the left. You can see it on the far right. It's very odd to see this play out. Most recently, we saw that Corey Lewandowski was recently brought back into the fold after years of being out of the circle due to basically him being a womanizer, kind of. Kristi Noem would like to have a word about that. Obviously, there was the incident of a misdemeanor battery case against somebody like 8 years ago. So he has some scandals. Now, Trump likes loyalty, so he's brought back into the fold. And so we might be looking at right now a three-headed monster of influence over the Trump campaign of Lewandowski, LaCivita, and Susie Wiles. Interesting. Now, again, we're going to look into all the reasons why this could be a really bad thing for Trump or why it could actually help him out long term. It's a very complicated thing to assess, and so we're going to take time with it. So like the video if you're ready. So first, let's address what Donald Trump has said himself, because recently there's been a pillory and a complete swamping by the fringes of the right wing that are kind of supporting Trump, kind of not. They're saying that we should hashtag fire LaCivita, which is a controversial thing to say the least. You have people like Johnny MAGA, who may or may not be Jack Posobiec's alt, okay? Now, apparently the headline or whatever goes, Trump announces that Corey Lewandowski and others from his 2016 and 20 campaigns are joining the 24 campaign in the final stretch. We have about 81 days, I think, until the election. Anyway, the point being is that we have people saying that, oh, Donald Trump hates LaCivita, that Donald Trump is going to fire these people. We have people like Anthony Scaramucci, who probably has the fastest hiring to pink slip record in history of electoral politics. This guy got fired within the span of days, I think. Scary Moochie is a guy who hates Donald Trump, but he's stoking the flame, saying, actually there's a lot of discord in the politic of Donald Trump. In fact, Mar-a-Lago is full of seething over the pick of JD Vance and whatever have you. So we're going to try to parse through these. But as of right now, the Truth Social of Donald Trump reports this almost exactly. It says, obviously, the typical of like Kamala Harris is crazy. We can all see that. But it also says the enthusiasm is great. That the management team headed by Susie Wiles and Chris LaCivita is the best, and many people who joined the campaign for the final push, some from the first two campaigns, and we want as many as we can get. So I'm pleased to announce that Corey Lewandowski, who was very involved in 2016, will be coming in as a senior advisor on the board. So notice that. So Trump is going for a holistic approach where you're getting in people that are controversial to the far right, and then people that have been around for about 8 years, and therefore you can trust them. If you didn't know, Corey Lewandowski was a vital figure in getting New Hampshire for Trump after he had already lost Iowa, I believe, to Ted Cruz, I think. So you can see how he's kind of important in the grand scheme of things. So you can see what that is. Now, on the far right, you do have some people saying that we should fire LaCivita. Well, why is that? Again, Donald Trump has slipped in the polls, definitely he has lost some footing. Now, a lot of it is a sugar high. We all agree there's a honeymoon that, okay, they're rid of Biden. Democrats are happy now that they have somebody that's alive that can run against Trump. But the truth is that Kamala's cracks in the foundation will be exposed over time, whether that be through an earthquake of a press conference that goes horrible, or just over time, confidence erodes as she goes even longer without a formal off-the-cuff sort of speaking arrangement. And then, God forbid, she has a bad debate performance against Trump next month. You could see the whole thing unravel in the span of weeks only. That being said, again, Trump has lost ground in the polls. Trump was up over 3 percentage points in the popular vote right before Kamala got subbed in for Biden after that debate performance that was so bad he had to be softly cooed and pushed out of the way. That being said, again, Kamala's winning right now the popular vote by about 1. So she's still probably going to lose anyway, because if you know anything about the Electoral College, Republicans tend to outperform, especially Trump. So unless Harris is up by like 4 or 5, she's probably going to lose to Trump in the Electoral College and the Rust Belt, Arizona, North Carolina, etc. That being said, again, it's better to be up 3 points nationally than to be down 1, even if you still win. And so that's a 4-point deficit from before. That being said, is it Chris LaCivita's fault? That's the bottom line. Because if it is, let's look towards replacing him, obviously. Because you don't want to risk the country over keeping a guy hired. Who is this guy anyway? Well, Chris LaCivita is a guy who got his start and basically spent decades working on Virginian politics. Then he kind of had to switch gears as it became more Democrat, and you basically lost any hope after around the time that Ken Cuccinelli came around as a politician. And then you got Glenn Youngkin as like a little bit of a flash in the pan as like a guy who could win statewide. But anyway, these are the like very staunch conservative reasons why people want him gone. So LaCivita was known as a never Trumper apparently as recently as 2021. As you can see here, he supported Trump being removed from office via the 25th Amendment after Jan 6, which is pretty bad, obviously, if you're a diehard Trump guy. My personal opinion is that, yeah, to invoke the 25th Amendment against Trump, even after that, is still pretty disloyal, in my opinion. Again, maybe if you're a 50-year-old man, you don't feel a sense of loyalty like I was as a teenager back then. But the truth is that, to call the 25th Amendment against your president is super cringe. But we see the likes. So this is the evidence that these people are using against LaCivita. And Barbara Comstock, who I think is a Democrat in Virginia, tweeted that Twitter locked Donald Trump's Twitter for 12 hours and that the cabinet needs to lock him down for the next 14 days. Hashtag 25th Amendment now. So that's not a great look, obviously, for LaCivita. And I don't think Trump would appreciate that. And I'm pretty sure he's already seen it. Now, obviously, this sort of thing and logic applies to J.D. Vance as well. Maybe if he wasn't already pro-Trump by the inauguration era in 2021, definitely had this happened in 2017, he would have been talking his ass off about how Trump is evil and he's like Hitler and stuff like this. So that's a difficult thing to broach because obviously if you can trust Vance, then why not trust LaCivita? Assuming you're Trump, right? This is like who you're trying to appeal to if you're making a website. So like I said, the lead for Trump has been eroding ever since Biden has withdrawn. Now, has it been LaCivita's fault? Because like, if you think about it, if LaCivita was in charge during Trump's rise in the polls, then is it also his fault if he falters a little bit? And mind you, was the Trump +3 even sustainable in the first place? Probably not. Why? Because again, that was assuming Joe would have stayed in the race. Now, me and other people thought he was going to stay the whole time, but he was a lot weaker willed than we expected. And so maybe this is more of a shock. And the fact that they had all this time for years been planning for going against Biden in 24 for it to be switched at the last moment. Whereas obviously the Democrats have had their aim on Trump the entire time and he's still the nominee. And so it's an unfair situation. Now, the people that made the website are certainly pro Project 2025. I personally am of the opinion I'm more pragmatic. I'm saying like, screw it. Yeah, throw them under the bus. Like, obviously, if they're liabilities, that's the bed they made. OK, so that's the bottom line. You could say, well, that's cucked or whatever. I don't care. You got to win the election first and foremost. So Trump campaign statement. Again, this was written by Susie Wiles and LaCivita, the people that are under attack by the far right. You see this. President Trump in his campaign has been very clear for over a year that Project 25 had nothing to do with him and does not speak for the campaign and should not in any way be associated with the campaign or the president. Reports of 25's demise will be greatly welcomed and should serve as notice to anyone or any group trying to misrepresent their influence with Trump and his campaign that it will not end well for you. So that's interesting. So you can see why people that are like pro Project 2025 were invested in like the very conservative platform are seething about it. And that brings another angle to this whole dynamic, by the way, is that, people, instead of saying, okay, well, maybe LaCivita is actually a bad person, it's more so that they're just jealous they don't have Trump's ear and he does, and Susie Wiles does. You have to parse through what the intention is here, obviously, because again, people might want Trump's ear. They all idolize the guy, even if they're far right or more moderate. So, I mean, you have to really consider that source as well. But the next talking point against LaCivita is that his PR company, according to Politico, FP1 Strategies, is owned by Omnicom PR Group, which is owned by Vanguard and BlackRock. So again, this is another thing that might seem like a bad thing. Personally, obviously, BlackRock owns a crap ton of stuff. So honestly, had it been owned by some other thing, just like BlackRock with a different name, people wouldn't even care anyway. So this doesn't seem like a valid point to make anyhow. So there you go. All right, so here we have the opposite point of view. Again, we already had the sort of like new right, national populist or whatever you want to call it, like kind of the further right wing saying, okay, LaCivita is a traitor to Trump. He's not MAGA. He didn't have your back during the riot at the Capitol 3 years ago. Okay, so you have that angle. Now we have the leftist point of view. Now, the leftist point of view is interesting because if you're a Democrat and you want Trump to lose, then you probably want LaCivita, if you think he sucks, to stay in the reins so that he can continue to lose. So what they're doing here is a double fake. They're saying like, okay, you should fire them, but more so to cause chaos than to actually get them fired. It's a difficult thing to parse through. But this is by the Lincoln Project, which is a bunch of like jilted Republicans that are like Romney with AIDS, like just like worse in every way, like super anti-Trump. So anyway, let's see what they say.
They were wrong. Susie Wiles, Chris LaCivita, Tony the pollster, they got it wrong.
President Joe Biden has just announced that he is dropping out of the 2024 presidential race.
They told you that Biden would never quit, that you should spend all that time, all that money, so much money, focusing on Biden, how he's too old. Now it's Harris.
So you see this? they're trying to gaslight him again. It's kind of like manipulative ex-girlfriend vibes, where it's like, oh yeah, LaCivita, totally coddled you and groomed you into preparing for Biden, and you work so hard, Donald, and you spend all these millions of dollars and you fundraise so hard just for it to be Kamala. They knew better, which is ridiculous. Obviously, if they wanted to keep their job and they knew Kamala was the nominee, they would have reoriented the campaign sooner, but they didn't know yet. So again, it's a facetious angle they're making, but maybe this will cause chaos in the Republican community, but we'll see.
Younger than you by a lot. Faster on her feet. Better than Biden was on camera.
This literally sounds like an ex-girlfriend trying to make you jealous. Like, he's taller than you, he's more handsome.
They were wrong, but they're wrong a lot. Wrong that Vance would help you. You know he's terrible.
Again, another angle that Scary Moochie had pronounced again. So, Donald Trump really ruse the day he picked JD Vance. And the reason why they say that is because JD Vance was largely propped up by people that were friends of Trump that he trusted. Not because Donald Trump really even knew JD to begin with. It was more so like, okay, this guy's running for Senate. A lot of rich people want me to help him out. A lot of people I like want him to be the senator. Okay, fine. He's a smart guy. Even I'll overlook that he hated me 8 years ago. Okay, whatever. He'll kiss my butt now. He literally said this, by the way, like years ago. Okay, now Trump is faced in 24. He's winning by 3. Okay, at this point, he can pick a person for VP that's going to be his heir, somebody he wants personally as like a strong conservative backup, especially with the assassination issue. Obviously, you want somebody that's staunchly right-wing so that they don't try to knock his head off again in the hopes they get a Nikki Haley behind Trump. No. So anyway, the point being is that Trump is like, okay, I'm gonna get somebody solid conservative and somebody that people like. Okay, well, who are the people around Trump? Tucker Carlson, Don Jr. likes JD. A lot of people I am acquainted with wanted JD in there that also worked for Trump, stuff like this. Okay, so bottom line is that people are trying to play into Trump's like not narcissism, but like a sense of self-preservation. Like, okay, you've dealt with all these snakes in the past, like Omarosa, years in the past. Okay, so is JD another version of that? Donald, we know you want to win more than anything. So is JD really helping you, or were you gaslit by other people like LaCivita? We'll see.
Terrible. Wrong that you have the race sewn up. It's sad, Donald. They spend more time trying to keep you under control than trying to win. More time trying to keep you from looking at what they're spending, what they're doing behind your back.
What they're doing behind your back? Again, huge allegations. Are they backing it up with any receipts? Doubt it.
Maybe you're losing your grip, Donald. Maybe you're the only one who could fund your campaign. If Susie and Chris got it so wrong on Biden, what else have they screwed up?
So you see what their angle is. Again, it's super bad faith. They're saying, well, maybe you're the only one that can fund your own campaign, as if to say like, okay, Donald, the millionaires and billionaires that want to give you money, just use your own money, bro, even though you're being sued every way from heaven. Okay, seriously. So, I mean, that's the leftist point of view. So anyway, to get to the brass tacks of the video, what is up with the prediction? So typically the way I would do it is that you would have Trump winning these states, and then it'd be like 312 to 226 right now. That's my prognostication. That's if Kamala wins the popular vote by 1, as she's predicted to do right now. Then Trump would probably win all these states. Maybe Michigan, again, very purple, very close. We have to see how Israel and that thing pans out in the next few months. It could get worse for the Democrats. But anyway, the point being is that when it comes to the campaign manager, should Trump fire LaCivita? Honestly, maybe, but the truth is who would replace him necessarily? Corey Lewandowski? We're not sure. It really is a method of, how you want to best go about this election. There's an argument that Trump should play it safe, play conservative, and by conservative I mean like moderate. Say like, okay, you don't want to piss people off, you don't want to say any things that are untoward, you don't want to use ad hominems, you don't want to bring up Project 25 as if you were going to do that in the first place, but denounce it even more like LaCivita those types try to do. Maybe that's one point of view. The other point of view I've heard a lot of people I know say is like, you know what, actually Trump, go back to 2016, go back to what made you cool in the first place, which is, okay, rail against the elites, you're going to drain the swamp, and the home stretch, what did he say all the time? I'm going to beat Hillary, we're going to lock her up, all this sort of stuff, drain the swamp. Maybe that's the angle you need to take to win. It really, really is super debatable. I'm extremely conflicted about it. Again, I'm down for firing anybody as long as there's a replacement that's better that we can see and prognosticate as like being better. For example, Bill Stepien was a pretty good pick by Trump after he fired Brad Parscale. So maybe if that's the replacement, we could talk about it. As of right now, I'll just lean towards not firing either of the two, Susie Wild or LaCivita, because personally, I'm not sure what the alternative is. But we'll see going forward in the next few days. That being said, when it comes down to should Trump have picked Vance, I mean, in hindsight, it's a worse pick, obviously, because Trump, it's a closer election than we predicted. And so therefore to pick a conservative candidate for nominee VP wise is not a good move. Hair wise, great. Hair wise as in successor. And again, he's getting better as a speaker too. So that's something I didn't really expect to happen. And so that's not as bad. So it's a wash there. I think honestly, like I just showed you, there's a ton of gaslighting by the Lincoln Project and people that want Trump to shoot himself in the foot, that want Trump to just fire everybody out of paranoia so that he can kind of spiral. And I think that's why Donald Trump has kind of taken the gas off the brake a little bit generally over the past like 10 days and said, okay, let's kind of ascertain what the dynamic of the race is now that we do have a concrete Democrat nominee in Kamala and then Walz on the understudy ticket. So that is the bottom line there. So should Trump fire LaCivita? As of right now, my elevator pitch is to say, we'll wait to see if there's a better alternative, but if not, then no. So that's it. Thank you all for watching. Like the video if you liked it. Comment down below if you disagree with me or if you want to agree even more, and subscribe if you haven't yet. See y'all in the next one. Adios.